News with Bill, Episode 10, Poisonous Snake Rentals. Hi, and welcome back to News with Bill, where I tell you about all the weird, odd, and bizarre news stories that you won't believe are true, and in a lot of cases, you'll wish they weren't. Now, I know it's been a while since I've been here, and, quite frankly, there's been a lot going on, and also, quite frankly, I know you don't care so much about that. You just care about getting to the story. So let's get to it. Let's see what we've been missing since the last episode, shall we? All right, the first one, we always like to start with a good one. Woman soiled herself during a marathon. Tamara Torkelson's day was going well. She was running the Mountains to Beach Marathon, her sixth marathon back in 2018. But this time things were a little different, because on this day, about halfway through the race, Torkelson realized that she had to poop. Though slightly unorthodox, she believes the decision served her well. Torkelson ended up achieving a personal record as well as legend status in her running circles. This was Torkelson's first race since having her first child. She said, "Training was going really well. I knew I was in really good shape." The Mountains to Beach Marathon, which starts in Ojai, California, and ends in the coastal city of Ventura, was going to be her first postpartum race, and she thought that she could set a personal record. And for the first half of the marathon, she was on track to do just that. But at mile 13 or 14, she realized that she had to go to the bathroom. She didn't want to lose physical or mental momentum by stopping, and she didn't want to make a pit stop. She said, "I thought, I don't know if it's possible to poop while running, but I'll try." I didn't want one poop to mess this race up. So she did the only thing that she could. Without stopping, she relieved herself into the built-in underwear in her shorts. She said, "I had to focus and continue on my way. It just came out and I felt a lot better." Torkelson doesn't think that anybody noticed, and she said she didn't care if they did. She maintained her personal record pace with soiled shorts for about 13 more miles. She kept her mind focused on maintaining her fast pace, not on what she was hauling in her shorts. When she got close to the finish line, she yelled to her friends, "I pooped my pants!" After crossing the finish, Torkelson quickly hit the medical tent for baby wipes and cleaned up in a porta potty. She says it was all worthwhile to run a 3-hour and 7-minute marathon, her fastest marathon by 1 minute 20 seconds. New York City dietitian Tamara Duker-Freuman said that long-distance running could trigger the bowels simply because of the mechanics of the sport. Your organs are all jostling around, she said. No matter how runners prepare and no matter what they eat the night before, race day runs just happen sometimes. Runners who are prone to lacking bowel control should note ahead of time where the portable toilets will be on the route and tuck some toilet paper or baby wipes into their pockets or fanny packs. Or you can take Torkelson's advice and just keep going with all that mess smushing around in your shorts. I'm sorry. No race, and in fact, nothing at all is worth doing that. All right, next up we have man eaten by piranhas while escaping a swarm of bees. So this all took place in Brasilândia de Minas, a rural area in Brazil, about 600 miles northwest of Rio de Janeiro. A 30-year-old man was fishing with two friends by the shoreline of a lake when they were targeted by a swarm of bees. All three jumped into the water to escape them. The piranha-infested water. One of the men was not able to get back out of the water and ended up drowning. Specialist divers found his face, his ears, and part of his body had major lacerations left by the piranha after recovering it from around 13 feet from shore. The victim was not named by officials, but his family has been given permission to bury his body after investigators ruled the incident a tragic accident, with no sign that any crime had occurred. It's not clear whether the fisherman drowned before he was attacked by piranhas, or if they played a part in his death by preventing him from swimming to safety like his two friends. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I much prefer the other kind of Brazilian. All right, this one sounds like a good time. German castrater on trial. A German electrician went on trial Tuesday, accused of murder in the death of one man and mutilating several others by performing illegal operations on their private parts. The 66-year-old told a regional court in Munich that he performed the procedures at the men's requests. The defendant, whose name wasn't released for privacy reasons, claimed he initially offered sexual services on S&M websites in order to earn money to pay off debt. Later, this guy apparently expanded his repertoire by performing operations on his kitchen table, telling his victims that he was a trained medical professional. The defendant told the court that he castrated or partially castrated 8 men between July 2018 and March 2020. He denied responsibility for the death of one man who died several days after the procedure was performed on him. The dead man's body was found in a box by police 3 weeks later. Prosecutors have charged the defendant with murder for failing to call for help in the case of the man who died, and with inflicting serious and dangerous bodily harm for the other men. Now, really, of all the ways to make some extra money, this is what he chose. Couldn't he have just picked up a few shifts as an Amazon driver or started an OnlyFans or something? And who says kids are dumb? Kid injects himself with mercury to turn into Wolverine. A 15-year-old kid was brought to the AIMS Trauma Center in New Delhi, India, with ulcers on his arm that would not heal. Doctors figured out that he must have cut himself some months ago, but that still didn't explain the multiple large sores in different spots on his forearm. They figured that substance abuse had to be a factor, but could not figure out which substance. They eventually brought in a psychiatrist who would talk to the boy until he told the full story. It turned out that this kid had injected himself with mercury, which he'd gotten by breaking open thermometers and other equipment. So the genius had watched X-Men Origins Wolverine and wanted to get superpowers like one of the characters there. The doctors performed a bunch of tests, which confirmed the boy hadn't eaten any mercury, but must have taken it in through the skin. According to a doctor's entry in a medical journal, he had a normal IQ and no other psychiatric problems. After a couple of skin grafts, the kid was healing and on his way back to a full recovery. Oh yeah, and it should be mentioned that this is the same kid who also purposely, repeatedly got bit by spiders in an attempt to turn himself into Spider-Man. The thing that I just can't get out of my mind is, once again, this kid wasn't like 4 or 5 years old. He's 15. I'm not sure what kind of disconnect is happening with kids these days, but I'm thinking we really need to reevaluate the age at which kids can get their driver's licenses, for one thing. Man lives with mobile phone in his stomach. In a first-of-its-kind case in Egypt, doctors at the Aswan University Hospital in the city of Aswan performed an operation to remove a small mobile phone that had been inside a man's intestines for 6 months. The patient, an inmate named Mohammed Ismail Mohammed, was brought to the emergency room with severe abdominal pain, and a CT scan revealed that there was a foreign body in his intestines. The man was prepped for surgery, and doctors managed to remove the object, which turned out to be a small mobile phone wrapped in plastic foil. The patient, who was reportedly stable and eating normally, confirmed that he had swallowed the phone 6 months before, as he had done in the past, only this time around it never came out the back end. Mohammed told doctors that he had swallowed the small mobile phone before to avoid having to hand it over to the guards in case of a search, but he had always excreted it before. He charged it, used it to talk to people on the outside, then he swallowed it again. Only this time, he didn't poop it out for 6 months, but he didn't worry about it too much since he continued to eat and drink normally. The man said he never felt bloated or constipated, but one day he started experiencing severe stomach pain, and that's when he was taken to the hospital. Doctors said that he had severe inflammation and infection of the intestines, but things could have been much worse if the phone hadn't been wrapped in plastic foil. One of the doctors who operated on Mohammed told Sky News Arabia, "The presence of the phone in the abdomen could have caused intestinal obstruction or bloating, and we could have had to remove part of the intestine. But thankfully, this did not happen." Well, it really would have been off if the phone had rang while it was in there, and even weirder if he had had it on vibrate. But the icing on the cake would have been if the call was about the extended warranty on Mohammed's car. All right, next up, I always love a list. We have 10 weird overseas menu items from American fast food chains. Now, I love these kind of lists because, well, I love food and snacks, and it's always interesting to see what people are eating in other countries. More info on that at the end of this story. But while we as Americans are indeed among the world's most gluttonous, and I happily include myself in that, we shouldn't overlook other countries as they compete with us. We seem to have fast food joints on every corner, and many of these chains have gone international. To cater to the increased appetites of their international customers, fast food chains have concocted all sorts of menu items meant to hybridize styles, create new tastes, and pander to locals. So here are 10 of the weirdest menu items from American fast food chains found in other countries. Starting off with number 10, the Nutella burger from McDonald's in Italy. Now, if you're like me, your immediate reaction to hearing the term Nutella burger is to throw up a little bit in the back of your mouth. The thought of hazelnut chocolate on ground beef, that is just nothing short of repugnant to me. But fear not, Italian tourists. There's no beef involved. This is just Nutella between two buns. Thank God. It's called a sweetie con Nutella, and it is available at McCafes in Italy. The Nutella burger has actually proven to be quite popular and has been a steady fan favorite since its 2016 launch. Okay, number 9 on the list is also from Italy. It's the Aereo bar, a Parmesan cheese snack in Italian McDonald's. So for many Americans, McDonald's fries are the best thing on the menu. They somehow manage to hit the right balance of crispiness and saltiness with their fries. But for many Italians, these perfect McDonald's fries can't compete with a brick of Parmesan cheese. Known as the snack al Parmigiano, this side is available as a standard substitute for fries in Italy. The cheese is pure Parmigiano Reggiano and must be quite delicious. I'd like to see some freshly grated parm in the fries because I bet that would be pretty good too. All right, number 8. We have the KFC Chizza in Singapore. Now, if you're half as brilliant as I am, you have no doubt surmised that KFC Chizza in Singapore is a chicken pizza. A complete change from U.S. pizza, the Chizza uses a wide, flat piece of fried chicken as its crust and adds toppings from there like mozzarella and marinara. Sure, this sounds like kind of a bastardized chicken parm, but there are often additional toppings added, the most popular of which are pineapple chunks and ham. Sounds like some sort of crazy and hideous Hawaiian, Singaporean, Italian freak show to me. And at number 7, the Pizza Hut Double Sensation Pizza. So we're going to stay in Singapore and take a look at Pizza Hut, where customers can take their extravagance overboard and order a double sensation pizza. As its name suggests, the double sensation is a pizza inside of a pizza. I know. This is sounding a lot like U.S. level gluttony. But just wait. At the outermost edge, the double sensation pizza has a stuffed crust with multiple kinds of cheese oozing out of holes on the sides. Moving towards the center, the pie is topped with typical supreme pizza toppings. But wait, there's more. Each slice is cut in half by another crust, again stuffed, but this time with cheese and sausage. Then the pie continues inward with more supreme toppings until it reaches the center, where it is garnished with a red stemmed cherry. I don't know how you felt hearing that, but just reading that started to give me chest pains. All right, let's go to number 6, pork and seaweed donuts. Now, I'm not a big donut fan to begin with, but even I can tell how awful Dunkin' Donuts are on the general donut hierarchy. Well, moving to Dunkin' Donuts in China, we can quickly see that they have decided to go from bad to worse. Their dried pork and seaweed donuts are, unfortunately, exactly as described. They're topped with crumbles of dried seaweed and pork floss, which are no doubt at the bottom of the list of good donut toppings. And then, in addition, they are yeast donuts made with less sugar. So this really takes all of the donut characteristics out of this donut. And number 5 on the list, pumpkin spice fries. Soccer moms rejoice as we head to Japan next. In 2016, McDonald's Japan concocted the Halloween Choco Potato, a tray of fries drizzled with chocolate and pumpkin sauces. The Halloween Choco Potato fries were released in October and were meant to honor the Halloween season. And get this, a majority of the reviews were actually quite positive. Customers love the salty-sweet combo enough that this monstrosity has returned for multiple Halloweens. It is just baffling to me that a country that came up with something as perfect as sushi also came out with something like this. Number 4, also in Japan, we have all black burgers. Japanese fast food is also famous, or perhaps infamous, for the black bun burgers available at their Burger Kings named Kuro burgers. The buns are charred black and further blackened by the addition of squid ink. In addition, the cheese slices are made with bamboo charcoal and also come out jet black. And of course, the sauce and beef patty are also. This leaves the optional lettuce, tomato, and onion the only non-black ingredients. I bet that tastes and looks just great. Number 3 on the list, we have the Kit Kat quesadilla. Well, here Taco Bell goes again. They put a lot of bizarre spins on their quesadillas across the globe. Taco Bell South Korea has kimchi quesadillas. Taco Bell in the Philippines has Cheetos quesadillas. And Taco Bell Finland has a barbecue pork quesadilla. All these, they don't sound bad at all. But on the other end of the spectrum, we have Taco Bell in the UK with the Kit Kat Chocodilla. This monstrosity is made by melting whole Kit Kat bars and chocolate chips between Taco Bell flour tortillas. While some may think that it's hard to argue with the combination, it just does not sound good at all to me. Taco Bell has recently made the Kit Kat Chocodilla stateside, starting exclusively in the Midwest. Shocker there. And to bring out the inner fat person in all of us, they've even branched out into new flavors like the Twix Chocodilla. And number 2 on the list, we have the Tabasco Sundae. Now, this is yet another item that I hope that nobody ever has to experience, especially me. Here in the U.S., McDonald's sundaes come in 3 traditional flavors: chocolate, caramel, and strawberry. You can't go wrong. However, in 2017, McDonald's Hong Kong decided to try out a new variety, the Tabasco Fudge Sundae. The Tabasco Fudge Sundae was launched as part of a larger collaboration with Tabasco. It was meant to serve as a companion to a Tabasco burger and fries. The Tabasco Fudge Sundae ended up being the most popular Tabasco item by far. Now, the Tabasco sauce is not added to the sundae as a topping. Rather, it was blended into the vanilla ice cream, making the entire thing surprisingly spicy. And that's just got to be bizarre. All right, and we have the number one item on the list of 10 weird overseas menu items from American fast food chains. So what came in at number one was the Windows 7 Whopper. Once again, Burger King Japan is really setting the bar for awfulness. So when Microsoft launched Windows 7 back in 2009, it collaborated with Burger Kings in Japan to sell special Whoppers with 7 patties. Though the promotion only lasted 1 week in October, its legacy has endured ever since. The structural flaws in this burger were apparent from the start. The 2 average-sized buns were clearly not meant to contain 7 whole patties between them, not to mention the cheese, veggies, and condiments that were in there as well. The best part of this were some of the reviews that were written about this mountain of meat. Here's an example. The Windows 7 Whopper burger was almost impossible to hold together. It was also almost impossible to bite into evenly. The combined juices from the 7 patties immediately soaked the buns until they were a soggy mess. Probably the worst part of all is, by default, the burger comes with no cheese and only enough veggies for the topmost patty. How does it taste? How do you think it tastes? It's 7 pieces of Burger King meat. This is meat followed by meat, washed down by meat. That sounds pretty awful. If you take all the food and beverages from this top 10 list, you'll have a hell of a meal plan, that's for sure. And good luck with the health issues that I'm sure will follow. All right, next up, we have an elementary teacher who is arrested after a student picks marijuana from the reward box. A South Carolina elementary school teacher was arrested after a student picked up a pack of marijuana edibles, which are illegal in that state, out of her classroom reward box. 27-year-old Victoria Farish Weiss faces a possession of a Schedule I drug charge, and she turned herself into the local authorities on Friday. Authorities opened an investigation into the matter on September 23rd after a report that a Rocky Creek Elementary School student picked up the cannabis-based products from the reward box. Detectives confirmed during interviews that Weiss took the pack of edibles from the student and told him to pick something else from the box. The student then grabbed another pack of edibles. According to the sheriff's department, no students ate the products. When authorities searched Weiss's home the next day, they found packs of edibles similar to the ones seen in her classroom. A police spokesman said, "Marijuana edibles are cannabis-based food products. They come in many forms, but the items in this case were candy. They're often packaged in wrappers and bags with logos and colors that look similar to traditional candy brands. While they are available in other states and online, they're illegal in South Carolina." Lexington School District 1 officials stated that the teacher was no longer employed by the district. The district superintendent said, "The safety of our students is our top priority. It is unacceptable for a staff member to potentially threaten the well-being of a child." All I'm saying is, this is a class that I never would have missed. All right, man rents poisonous snake to kill his wife. So an Indian man was found guilty of murdering his wife by renting a cobra to bite her so he could take her jewelry and marry another woman. A young man from the Kollam district of the Indian state of Kerala was convicted of arranging and carrying out his wife's murder with the help of a snake. The crime took place in May of 2020, but investigators needed over a year to collect the necessary evidence to charge the husband. Prosecutors managed to prove that in March and May of last year, P. Suraj used a cobra rented from a local handler to poison his own wife, Uthra. During the first attempt, which was carried out in the couple's home, where they lived with their 1-year-old child, Uthra was bitten by one of the snakes, but she managed to survive. Then, on May 6th of last year, while she was recovering from the first snake bite, Uthra suffered another snake bite, which proved fatal. Investigators claimed that Suraj was the one who brought the venomous cobras and had them bite his wife on both occasions. They produced evidence that the 32-year-old had researched snake handling and deadly snake bites on the internet for months before contacting a snake handler and learning how to safely handle them. Police managed to track down the snake handler, who admitted to training Suraj to handle a snake and even providing him with a specimen, which he then used to try and kill his wife. The second time, he allegedly mixed sleeping pills in her drink and then released the cobra on her, even provoking it to bite the woman twice. He then remained awake the whole night to make sure the cobra didn't bite him as well. In the morning, Suraj pretended to be shocked after discovering Uthra's dead body, but the woman's parents didn't buy it. They filed a complaint against Suraj, accusing him of setting up the whole thing. Lacking any witnesses and direct circumstantial evidence, prosecutors relied on scientific and technical evidence to prove the husband's guilt, going as far as to conduct a test with the snake to show the difference between natural and induced bite marks. More evidence was collected with the help of herpetologists, forensic experts, forest officials, and snake handlers. During the investigation, the special investigation team also discovered that Suraj was planning to marry another woman and was trying to get his hands on Uthra's jewelry. After the judge found Suraj guilty, the victim's father said, "I'm happy, finally, my daughter got justice. We expect a maximum punishment for Suraj. We pray that no other parent should undergo our experience." After reading this whole tragic story about murder, I'm most interested in the idea that you can actually rent a deadly snake. I mean, is it kind of like renting a car? And do they try to save the extra insurance? Well, kind of gives a new meaning to hurts, doesn't it? Father allegedly shot his son over guitar playing. A 79-year-old Ohio man was arrested this week for allegedly shooting his son after he wouldn't stop playing his guitar. According to the Cincinnati Enquirer, 79-year-old Fred Hensley Sr. is facing a felonious assault and domestic violence charge following a confrontation that occurred Sunday in Blue Ash, Ohio. Hensley Sr. is alleged to have shot his son, 50-year-old Fred Hensley Jr., in the stomach with a .380 pistol because he would not stop playing his guitar. Hensley Sr. claims he wasn't trying to shoot his son, but was actually aiming at his son's guitar. After calling 911, Hensley Jr. assaulted his father while waiting for emergency crews to arrive. However, Hensley Jr. claims he didn't remember hitting or assaulting his father. Police that were on the scene stated in an affidavit, Hensley Sr. said he was tired of his son playing the guitar for over an hour. Hensley Sr. said he was only trying to shoot the guitar, but ended up shooting his son in the right side of his stomach. The son then assaulted his father while waiting for emergency personnel to arrive. Hensley Jr. is not facing any charges related to the incident. He was taken to the hospital with a gunshot wound and is expected to make a full recovery. Hensley Sr. is being held at the Hamilton County Justice Center, and his bond was set at $60,000. Well, the obviously healthy father-son relationship aside, I think that this would only have been excusable if the son played or attempted to play Stairway to Heaven. And now we get a little chicken wing violence. According to police, a Utah man was charged with attempted murder and discharge of a firearm after opening fire towards his father during a domestic argument. The topic of the argument? Chicken wings. 30-year-old Akila Suliafu was arrested following the incident in Bountiful, Utah. According to an arrest report, Suliafu's father returned home that day with an order of chicken wings for his son. An officer wrote in the report, "When Suliafu discovered the wings were not the variety he liked, he became upset and began to argue. Things escalated, and Suliafu went to his bedroom, returned with a gun, and opened fire. The father was able to dodge the bullet, and that's quite amazing, which traveled through the walls of their apartment and eventually became lodged in a neighbor's dishwasher. The father tried to take out his son's legs and attempted to wrestle the gun away from him. During the struggle, Suliafu shot off 2 more rounds that became lodged in the ceiling. The father was finally able to grab the weapon away and unload it while he was fleeing. By the time officers arrived from the Bountiful Police Department, Suliafu was gone. He was later apprehended and taken into police custody. He's being held in Davis County Jail without bond. A similar incident tied to chicken wings occurred in Milwaukee back in June, where police arrested Tuanesty Marie Smith for allegedly setting her partner's hair on fire while he slept. Of course, it may have also been at least partially caused by Smith taking more medication than prescribed and huffing paint. All right, and finally today, for our last story, pizza sauce led to the arrest of a car burglar. This all happened in Deltona, Florida, where deputies are crediting a smear of red sauce and a pizza box with helping to apprehend a man accused of breaking into at least 2 cars in the area. 38-year-old Dewey Smith was arrested Wednesday by deputies with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. According to the sheriffs, the break-ins were reported around 7:30 a.m. on Jefferson Avenue. Investigators searched the first car and found the center console and glove box had been rummaged through and the victim's wallet was missing. Deputies said they found what appeared to be marinara sauce on the interior of the car door. A few houses down the road, an empty pizza box was found near another car that had been broken into, where a 9mm handgun and an old concealed weapons permit had been taken. As deputies canvassed the neighborhood, they spoke with the woman who said Smith, an acquaintance of hers, had stopped by in the middle of the night asking if she knew anybody who wanted to buy a gun. The woman said he also asked her to call the number to see what the balance was on a gift card. Deputies then learned that credit cards taken from one of the vehicles were used at 3 gas stations overnight. Investigators later found Smith walking on Twin Oak Street with the stolen credit cards still in his possession. Smith faces charges of armed burglary of a conveyance, 4 counts of fraudulent use of a credit card, grand theft of a firearm, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, theft, and dealing in stolen property. Needless to say, Smith is not being accused of being the smartest guy in town. Alrighty, well, that is going to do it for this episode of News with Bill. Thanks once again for coming back and listening and getting back into the fold with me. Please be sure to subscribe to the show and give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, I'd love to hear your feedback or ideas, so please let me know what you think. You can comment on this show at newswithbill.com/10. I'm at newswithbill on Twitter and Instagram. You can send an email to feedback@newswithbill.com or call and leave a voicemail on the News with Bill hotline at 209-854-4620. And don't forget to tell a friend about the show. Thanks a lot for listening. I'll catch you next time.